So let's talk about your first month down in Washington, and then what that's been like for you, serving the 24th.
It is, of course, it's an honor. It's interesting work. It's different, something I'd never imagined myself doing, and clearly because I've never done it before. But it is not something that is that difficult, frankly. I mean, I've managed a lot of people, a lot of things in my life. And we were one of the few congressional offices that the day we were sworn in, up and running and staffed and doing our job, and have been for almost a month now. We've opened these 3 district offices, with this one here in Auburn, and one in Cortland, one in Utica. We're about to open 2 part-time offices, and one in Oneonta and one in Norwich. So, we're deeply engaged. There was a backlog of constituent issues, and we're catching up with that. We have Trish Delante here in Auburn, and she's going to be here full-time, an Auburn resident, and very familiar with the community. And so, and in Cortland, we have Terry Dennis, a Cortland person who worked for, I think, Jim Walsh, and also for Sherry Bollard, and Trish worked for Mr. Bollard. And in Utica, we kept 2 of Mr. Arcuri's people. All of them have our district or regional directors, and they're all engaged in constituent services. So Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, the IRS, whatever it is that people confront with the big bad federal government, and I get that, they should call us. That's what we're here for. And you can see the sign on the door. It says Congressional Citizen Service Center. It's where I think about it. That's why the sign's there. And this place is handicap accessible, and it's open every day. So, and if you call here and you don't get an answer, the number will roll over to Utica. So there should be somebody to pick up the phone, and we look forward to being busy.
Why is this part of it important for you? Not just the open houses, but having these offices, accessible to residents throughout the district.
I think that Washington is Washington. It's real tribal. You do have these 2 parties that are, I think, even though appearances may seem otherwise, I think they're fairly well polarized. The majority rules and has the vast majority of the power, and we're in the process of putting out legislation and co-sponsoring bills and doing all the things that we should be doing. But the essence of the work for me is, and the power of being a member of Congress, is really what you can do from up here. How you can make a small person into a big person. Small in the sense that the federal government can be so formidable, and in the way that somebody through the Veterans Administration, somebody who has a veterans issue, can't plow through it. Regardless of how this sounds, I know that as a member of Congress, I pick up the phone, people answer, and they respond. So that's the joy of this job. I've been able to do that a handful of times in the last month and come out with great outcomes. It makes me feel good that I'm doing the job, makes me feel, give me a sense of accomplishment, and it produces outcomes that fix problems for people. So, and I think it's what I've heard generally from people who've done this a while, is that's the fun of the job for them. Not to be light about it, but down there it can be a frustrating, Washington can be a very frustrating process. Things take a lot of time, there's a lot of political layers, there's a lot of agendas that you can't figure out, and I haven't yet figured out. But up here you can do real things in an important way. I'm on the Infrastructure and Transportation Committee, or Transportation Infrastructure. I'm vice chair of Highways and Transit. That's an important committee, and it's important to this community. I'm also on the Education and Workforce Committee, and I'm on higher education. There are 20 universities and colleges in this community, some 19 or 20, and some big ones on the periphery like Syracuse and Cornell. I've met with most of their presidents, and not Syracuse yet, but we're trying to figure out what it is how they see themselves in the community, what they can do to further the interest of the community, and what we can do together. And, I don't know the answers, but I know a couple of the questions. So I'm just reaching out and hoping that people respond and come out with ideas. So if they do, I'm gonna carry them forward, and so is the staff. We've set high bars for people to be responsive, to plow through the paperwork, to try to make sure that if we have time, that we had a couple of calls yesterday that have been fixed by today. We had a teletown hall meeting the other night. I did it from my house, and we had 50,000, we made 50,000 phone calls. How they do it, I don't know, but they did. We had 22,000 people answer the phone, 11,000 stayed on. We left, I don't know how many messages, but we're gonna do this a lot. It's a great way to reach out to people. We answer questions, and people left questions, and we're following through with them. We had 28 questions that we've already answered. This was just 2 days ago. So, it's like running a business efficiently. It's not, I had a great life before I did this, and on a personal level, I wanna be as demanding of myself, and I want people to be as demanding of me and the people that work around me as I was before, and as my customers were before. And we work for you guys, or whoever may see this, or whoever you write to, Robert. I get that. This is not about me or anybody who works here. If it is, we shouldn't be here. But it's about representing 600,000 plus people in Washington and letting them know that they have a venue for their concerns and needs up here. So that's why we're gonna have 5 new offices, and we may be even a little overstaffed, but for the moment, I'd rather do that.
To shift to issues, just a couple of issues here. One that comes to mind, obviously, a major one was the healthcare repeal vote. Talk about that, and I know that our editorial board certainly voiced their opinion on it, but so goes back to what you said at the debate here a few months ago. Talk about that and why you think, why you made your decision to vote for repeal.
I could not have made one without the other. They were tied together. I didn't like the format, but those were the votes. That was the opportunity I was given, and I had to vote up or down. So the idea that to repeal it without reforming what is already here is not something I look forward to. But they did both. So this is a vote to repeal to reform, and there are already reforms that are going out there. I am in favor of letting people keep their children on their insurance. I think it's absolutely immoral to be excluded from health insurance because of pre-existing conditions. All of those things that we like about this bill, need to be included in whatever replacement, if there is a replacement. This in many ways was looked at as kind of a ceremonial vote, because let's face it, the Senate isn't going to approve it, and the President, of course, isn't. But it starts the conversation, and it makes the Republican Party do more than talk. They've complained for 2 years about this health care bill, and they've offered alternatives, but they're not alternatives that in many ways are viable. Well, now they have to, put up the goods. They have to say, here's what we're presenting, here's why it'll work. They don't want people to be required to buy insurance because you need young people in the mix. They object to that fact, but you need young, healthy people in the mix to make it affordable for everybody. So what are they going to do about that? How are they going to handle that matrix? I'm looking forward to seeing it. You saw the Senate yesterday vote to repeal the 1099. Well, I co-sponsored the bill to repeal the 1099 portion of the health care bill because it's particularly onerous for small business. There are things about this bill that were really that are unwieldy. It didn't do enough to control cost. It didn't improve quality. You've heard all our conversations 100 times. Let's see what they do. I say give them a chance. Let the Republican Party put up or shut up, and that's what I think they'll do. I'm confident that they get this, that they are now in the leadership position, and I'm looking forward to working with people who come up with real solutions. So, that's the obligation that I think when you vote to repeal something and replace it, then that's your obligation. They're in the driver's seat. Let's watch what they do, give them a chance, let them work in a bipartisan way to get that done, and let's hope that they do, because healthcare is an issue that's been out there. It isn't just the last 2 years. You know, we all know it's decades old, this issue, and it's getting older, and it's bankrupting our country, and we need to fix it. The thing about Medicare, Medicaid, and even Social Security is there are mandates that are not funded, they're not budgeted, they just grow. They're open-ended, and they're bankrupting our country, so we need solutions that end that open-endedness. And we have a deficit that's equal to our GDP almost, and that's not sustainable. So, and those issues are part of, those healthcare costs are a big piece of that, the biggest piece. So we need to deal with it, and I'm down there to help deal with it, and that's my hope.
Shifting to something that's more local, but the local the members of the Assembly and State Senate, they've all told me what's the federal government going to do about this, and it's issues related to the Cayuga Indian Nation. I know that you've only been in office for a month, but
sure.
What have you what have you learned?
Watched it. I had signed up to watch the Supreme Court go through the process in February on the 23rd. I wanted to sit there. I was able to get a ticket. Apparently you can get a ticket when you have this title. So I did, and then of course they withdrew, and I met with Ray Halbrenner of the Oneida Indians the other day. I have met with your local legislature, and I am someone who is looking forward to an opportunity to be part of the resolution of this. It's dragged on way too long. It is a very scary issue for a lot of locals as the tribes buy up land, potentially take it off the tax rolls, and all that ensues around that. And I do believe, and I'm certain, that the Cayuga issue is different than the Oneida issue, and I look forward to being part of the resolution for that. I've spoken to John Campagny, who's the lead in the Oneida issue, at least from the Madison County's perspective. And I look forward to talking to the Cayuga Indian side of it and getting the whole perspective and moving forward on it. And again, I'd like to see this ended and resolved in this 2 years, of course. Maybe that's unlikely, but it does seem as though things are moving in that direction. So I'm committed to being part of the resolution to this. So any way I can help, I want to.
One of the things I did want to talk to you about. Now that the whole, the committees and subcommittees are all set, before I asked you about, how do you think these committees will help you, but now you're on different subcommittees too.
Mm-hmm.
How do you see those subcommittees putting you in a position to help the district?
Well, we haven't had transportation. I'm on transportation infrastructure, as we said. We haven't seen a 6-year bill, which is what they typically have done historically. Put together. Chairman Micah and I are working on that. I'm vice chair of Highways and Transit, which is a great spot to be. And what people need to realize about the transportation infrastructure group and where their money comes from, it is a user fee, a tax, of course, on gasoline, 18 plus cents on gas and 23 cents on diesel, I think. So they wind up with billions of dollars that flows there that they're obligated to spend back on public highways, bridges, sewer, water, all of that. Coastal waters, they cover a lot. Army Corps of Engineers comes through our committee. So that it gives one an opportunity to have access to funds to spend in a state that aren't budgeted through normal processes. So the money's available, and hopefully the General Congress won't grab it. I don't think they will. We're trying to work out a 6-year plan so that states can know what they can count on going forward. I think they've had something like 17 votes or continuing resolutions to the stopgap measures without the 6-year plan that they typically have done. We want to put an end to that. I met with Mayor Bloomberg and a number of members of the Transportation Committee in Grand Central Station the other day to talk about high-speed rail, which we did. And so I'm engaged in it. I'm also engaged in education and workforce. One of the things people maybe wouldn't know is that 19 or 20 universities and colleges are in the 24th Congressional District. Cornell, I mean, it's a world-renowned institution. I've met with the president of Cornell. It's a $3 billion influx into our community. And we have Hamilton and Colgate, and Syracuse was on the periphery, and all the SUNY systems, and Wells College, and Hobart, and Cortland. I've reached out to all of them, written them all, and said, you know, what can we do together? What are the synergies that exist? How do you see yourself in the community? These are enormous economic drivers. They're also a great source of what they're supposed to be, the workforce. And we have the brain drain that everybody talks about, nobody quite knows what to do about. So the question, there's lots of questions, but one of them is, how can we keep these people, these great minds, these people who are trained in STEM, you know, science, technology, engineering, and math, which everybody, including the president, understands are critical to our future. And I believe as your educational system goes, so goes your country. So what can we do? How can we keep these people here? What can we do with all these assets to further economic growth in upstate New York? And how can we work together? I mean, those are some of the simple-minded questions that, you know, but they're pertinent, and that's what I'm asking. I will have a legislative director in my office in Washington whose sole job it is to communicate with educators and in these institutions. And I've reached out to Griffiths Business Park that has a cybersecurity center there. AIS, they're actually looking for people right now. And they have a relationship with Clarkson, and they're getting students down there. So, you know, there's opportunities, and I've been here a month. I'm trying to make the most of it. I tried to get the nuts and bolts of this job behind me early. You know, get this place painted and have desks, and chairs, and phones, and we've done that. So now I can focus on bigger, broader, more thoughtful, and frankly more interesting issues. And make constituent services a staple, and then expand the opportunities beyond that. That's what I'm trying to do. So I've talked to lots of businesses. I look forward to just meeting with more legislators. I heard about the local idea to have take advantage of digesters on farms. I think it's the Raymond. What's the name of the farm locally? A Ray Farm. I forgot. They throw away $500,000 worth of methane a year. You want to capture that, pipeline it to a business park. You know, look into things like that. This upstate region is full of opportunities like that, but everything's expensive, and you know, we're at a time in our history where we have $1 trillion deficits, and people are focused on the deficits, and they're trying to cut back in Washington, and some of the things they want to do are downright draconian, maybe necessary, but that doesn't mean we shouldn't invest in the future. I mean, it doesn't mean we have to stop advancing. It means we have to be more thoughtful, but can't just put on the brakes on progress just because we're broke. We just have to be smarter about how we do it. And I think, you know, that's the opportunity we're given in these higher liability times, if these more dangerous and treacherous times that we have. You know, 2 unfunded wars that we talk about. And, you know, talk about New York State. Well, New York State's got to start fixing its problems and stop talking about it. They have put forward to kick the can down the road for so many years now. But we actually have guys like Chris Christie in New Jersey and Mr. Cuomo in Albany who are talking like people who really know that they better do things now because they may not have another chance. The question I want to ask them all and everybody out there is, why do we have to reach critical mass before we're smart? Why is it that we talk about planning when we've lost our capacity to plan because we've actually put ourselves on a path of disaster? We spend our money in rich times like those times were constant, and now we're in a downturn, and we don't know what to do with the structural problems that we've created through these programs. You know, we need to run the government more like a household, which is commonsensical, and people talk about it, but it really is true. New York State's doing things today that it should have been doing for years. And I believe that, you know, one of the problems with the stimulus bill, frankly, was that it allowed states to put problems away down the road another year. The money's gone, the problems are the same. So I talked to the governor briefly in Schenectady when I was there with the president and some other congressmen and women. And Christian Gillibrand was there, and Mr. Schumer was there, and we all offered our help. So this, as far as up here goes, I'll talk to anybody about anything. I want to be as nonpartisan as I can, focus on solutions. I got 2 years, you know, I'm not committed to running again. I can easily be fired. I accept that. I just want to the legacy I intend to leave is one that I'm proud of and try to do the job that I'm paid to do in the time that I'm here. So that's kind of my thesis.